Hi, hello everybody. My name is Thad. This is the Grizzly Thadams channel, and let's dive into today's deck list. So for today, we have a very special deck of mine that I really have been working on. I even took it to a league challenge. Didn't do great, but I think there's room for improvement. Especially with the next set, Paldea Evolved coming out. This deck has a lot of potential. Today's deck, you might already be seeing it up here on my list. I have a bunch of fun random decks that I like to build and play around with. And today's is no exception. We are going to be looking at the Oinkologne deck here. Now on the right, we can see sort of an idea of what the deck list consists of. You can get an idea of the draw engine here. We're using the Skwovet Bibarel engine. So for those of you who may not be familiar or are new to playing the game and want to get into a really fun deck, be disruptive, and honestly get something pretty cheap. None of the cards here, depending on your rarities, it can all be really affordable. But we're going to look at the engine that gets this deck going. We're going to be looking at the Skwovet here. Skwovet has the ability Nest Stash. This says once during your turn, you may shuffle your hand and put it on the bottom of your deck. If you do, put any cards on the bottom of your deck in this way, draw a card. So, shuffle your hand. Let's say you got a dead hand. Shuffle, bottom deck, draw one. Now you're in a single card hand, but if you have your Bibarel set up, and what your Bibarel does here is it uses its ability Industrious Incisors to once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. So it's sort of like, let's trash this hand, but not get rid of it. Put it at the bottom of the deck. And even if you do have something that is useful that could come up soon, you can use a search card like Nest Ball or Ultra Ball, and we'll get into that here in a minute, just to shuffle it up. Industrious Incisors, though, is the ability we're looking for. And we have a couple of other support Pokemon here. We're looking at Radiant Gardevoir. So Loving Veil lets you make sure all of your Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V. Ugh. A lot of up and down in that sentence. But with Loving Veil, this does help you correct some math in especially the Gardevoir matchup. If they do happen to bump your stadiums, you make them suffer with Gardevoir. That's just the end result there. Gardevoir just sits on your bench, does nothing special. Next up, we are looking at our final support Pokemon, and this is sort of I don't know, it's a weird combination. You don't have a lot of damage output in this deck, and I've been considering like one of 3 V Pokemon, but I've landed on Pidgeot V so far for its ability Vanishing Wings. It says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may shuffle it all cards attached to it into your deck. Now, the reason why having a V Pokemon in this deck is super important is because we are going to be playing a item card that can only be attached to Pokemon V. So with that being said, we'll jump into that here in a moment. But our main attacker, our really only attacker in the deck, is Oinkologne EX. Now you can choose to play the full arts, and they're only like $2 to pick up, which is what I did. I have my Oinkologne deck around here somewhere. I'm actually gonna open it up real quick because I love the look of the EX cards, especially the full arts. Again, super affordable, really easy deck. But we have 2 attacks on this Pokemon. We have Maddening Scent. This does 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon plus 10. So against a full bench, you're doing like 160, which isn't bad. Heavy Stomp is your second attack, and that's a flip a coin. If tails during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. So there is some downside to using Heavy Stomp. Now, let's jump into the trainer cards here. We have a pretty good solid lineup of trainer cards. Playing 2 Escape Rope. This helps us get in and out of the active. Helps us save face if we don't get one of our other trainer cards to help lift the Pokemon up. Nest Ball, again, basic search card. Gonna let you go get something put on the bench. Pal Pad lets you put 2 supporters from your discard into your deck, and there is a reason why we do that. let's finish up the search. So we play 4 Ultra Ball. Again, letting you discard cards, stuff that you're not going to use in a specific matchup, and get rid of them, not see them again, which is kind of nice. Because you don't play a lot of recovery. There's like very little recovery. As for tool cards, we play 3 full face cards. If the Pokemon this is attached to has no abilities, it takes 20 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. Now this is where Oinkologne really gets set up, because you're not just attacking, you're tanking. And to do that on a stage 2 with 260 HP, not bad, right? I think it's up on the higher end for stage 2-ish. Or stage 1s. I'm sorry if I said stage 2 before, I meant stage 1. We do have a few cards coming out like later in the year that are going to be higher HP stage 1s, but whatever. But for now, we're adding 20 HP to that. So we're at 280, which is like a magic number, right? Can help us stay out of range of a lot of different attacks. But we're combining it with full face cards, so 260 plus the 20 essentially. You take 20 less from attacks. And then, which is different than getting plus HP. And then you're taking minus 30 as well from this V-Guard energy. So you can sort of see what we're doing here. We're building up our main attacker. We're supporting draws with our support Pokemon like Bidoof or Bibarel and Skwovet. Taking even less damage with Gardevoir. But the big thing that we're doing here is we're pathing to the peak all the time. You want to be as disruptive as possible with this deck. Almost none of your Pokemon are rule box and have abilities. There's only one, and it's the Radiant Gardevoir. And it sort of punishes players for either overbenching or not paying attention to their damage output when they're building up for an attack against Oinkologne and they have a bump for the path. It just sort of like punishes people who don't pay attention. You don't need it in the deck, and I'm willing to see suggestions. Leave comments below. But I'm willing to bet with Paldea Evolved coming out, I'm going to end up cutting the Gardevoir in favor of something like a Super Rod or something. To be as disruptive as possible, we are playing 3 Judge. So that's going to help us, especially early mid-game, help us just dig through the deck, shuffle it up, especially if we're using the Skwovet engine, right? Because we're putting maybe sometimes useful cards on the bottom of the deck just to get that +1 draw. And then Judge can help us recycle those cards throughout the deck because you have to shuffle your deck after you Judge. What really gets interesting is we're playing 3 Cheren's Care. Now, I've been debating between adding a Cheryl or not. And I like the Pal Pad play because essentially what we're doing is, you know, if you do use a couple Cheren's Care or you had to discard a couple Cheren's Care, that lets you get 2 of them back with Pal Pad. And because you're cycling through your deck so much, the odds of you getting back a Cheren's Care is really high. What Cheren's Care does is let you put one of your normal type Pokemon that have any damage counters on it and all attached cards into your hand. So likely your opponent is not one-hit KOing your Oinkologne in an ideal world. And what you're doing is you're picking it back up again. You have another Lechonk set up on the bench. Promote Lechonk, evolve, attach, attack again. Right? You're just constantly recycling. So that's the idea. We have Miriam for recovery. Choice Belt in case we do need to put out some extra damage. Our energy mix is all special energy. With that being said, double turbo. There's 4 double turbo, and that reduces your damage output by 20. So when we're reducing our 210 by 20, we're at 190, and that is not magic number. So if we do need to clean up let's say we do need to clean up a Pokemon with a heavy stomp, or maybe just getting that +30 on your maddening scent can help clean up something, especially against Mew, like a Genesect. You know, you're doing pretty good damage at that point. And then, again, the odds of them being able to just cut right through 200 and an effective, like, 200 and, like, some odd amount of damage, it's hard. Worst case scenario, it doesn't get KO'd. Use Cheren's Carrot, pick it back up, promote another one that has a full face guard, and go back in. 2 research. This just helps us dig early. We shouldn't be going down to a 0-card hand that frequently. I could hear out maybe swapping out a couple cards. Again, maybe cutting the Gardevoir for a research. But we don't want to be discarding too many of our cards. This is a pretty like trim 60, so not a lot of room. We're also looking at our final card here, and the reason why we're playing 1V Pokemon is the Forest Seal Stone. This lets you go get anything out of your deck. Again, this can be help you get that path, help you get the Judge, get you that one last piece at the last moment to build it up. And then with Pidgeot's ability, before you path, you Vanishing Wings, put it all back in your deck, get it off your bench, because it's just a 210 HP liability, and you just discard it later with something. Just Ultra Ball both of those away at some point, because you're never going to see them again. I mean, worst case scenario, you could attack with Pidgeot V, and the reason why I chose Pidgeot is just because it can get rid of a V a 2-prizer. We don't want to be giving up too many 2-prizers that easily. Having the resistance to fighting and the weakness to electric is sort of why I like it. Because again, if they are attacking into weakness on Oinkologne, our weakness is fighting, so this sort of counteracts that play, and we can attack with Pidgeot V a little bit more effectively. Maybe they don't have the damage output on a fighting type Pokemon to play around with. So again, maybe in like a Lugia matchup that's playing like Urshifu and Stonejourner, this could be a little bit more handy. I've been sort of thinking about Blissey V or Slacking V. I don't know. Put your opinions down below. Maybe we can put in like a penny for those two guys. I don't know. I haven't figured this out yet, but I do like the list that I have. And if you want to stick around and see more about this list, see it in action, stick around. I'm going to have some gameplay put after this. Nothing crazy. If you like this deck list, if you like my deck list breakdowns, feel free, like, subscribe, chill, hang out. Hopefully I'll be putting up more content more regularly. Just had like a lot of busy things happening this last week, so feel free, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you guys for watching. Peace. Alright, so no successful gameplay today, which was kind of crappy, but that's okay. PCGG Live does PCCG Live things. If you don't mind, just like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. I love making these videos. I like making road decks. Next video will probably be something not so rogue. We'll probably end up going with like a Lugia build that I have that I really enjoy. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a few cards off of something that's very meta right now, but it's very unique, at least, you know, at my locals. It's pretty unique. But like I said, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you guys have a good day. Thank you.